The new Japanese tank destroyers are coming to the game on Tuesday. So let's have a look at exactly what their statistics are, what Wargaming are going to be doing for World of Tanks console as part of this news update video, and of course look at some of these vehicles. So of course there have been a few kind of showcases of these vehicles as part of the trailers, etc. that is part of the new Japanese tank destroyers alongside the Type 5 Kato, which is also available as part of this, which is a premium vehicle, I believe. So with that being said, let's have a look at the actual tank characteristics of all of these vehicles. We'll kind of gloss over some of the lower tier stuff as you'll only really be playing it for a couple of games, but straight off the bat you start off with a relatively decent top speed vehicle with 40 kilometers an hour. Its main armament has only 70 damage per shell with 90 penetration. You know, it's a tier 3, should be pretty okay, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be playing for thousands of games in this little monster. Then you move on to the Hory I. This is what it looks like. It kind of features this sort of, I guess, Marder 38T-esque sort of vehicle where you have a open top vehicle that has a slight kind of, I guess, machine gun fire shield for whoever would be using it in the past. But yeah, either way, that's kind of how it's run. The arm model, absolute garbage. It's not going to be bouncing anything, but it does get 300 damage. So it is a big pumper at tier 4, considering how, you know, how much health these tier 4s actually have. And in terms of what this one has, 390 hit points. So almost one-shotting itself if it meets it in the game. So yeah, pretty okay, looks decent, but at the end of the day, it's only really above tier 5 that you'll start to kind of play lots of games in each one of them. So with the Hory III, this is where it's at, the kind of vehicle that I guess kickstarts it all off on the PC version. As you can see, you kind of come from tier 5 and you get the or tier 4 even, then you go to the Hory III and then it leads all the way up to the Hory III. So the Hory, it doesn't particularly have any armor, as you can see, very, very limited in that department, but it does get this 130 alpha damage gun with 150 pen. So it's not particularly going to be the best one and probably not the greatest start for when you are playing through these Japanese tank destroyers, but it will get better as you go through. You then move on to the Type 95 G-Row, which is the bunker-shaped vehicle. Strange one to look at. Has this weird rear of the vehicle where it is very round and semicircular. So yeah, I mean, it'll be cool to play it, see it in the game. Is it actually that effective? Well, it actually seems to have a relatively decent penetration with good alpha damage. Accuracy is looking pretty fine. Rate of fire, okay. 2,000 damage per minute as a tier 6 vehicle is very good. And of course, when you start buffing that up with some of the perks and equipment, you're going to find it's probably in the region of about 2,500 DPM, which for a tier 6, very good. And then of course, 40 kilometers an hour, you have a power to weight ratio 9.51, which is going to mean that 40 kilometers an hour probably not going to happen. So yeah, you are going to be quite slow and sluggish. 5 degrees gun depression does mean that it is going to be quite limited in quite a few situations. So be aware of that. It's probably going to be a bit more of a sniping tank destroyer where you sit at the back and make sure that you use all of your camo and concealment to be able to outspot opponents, and also boosting it up using advanced optics as well. So of course you can see here there is also a golden ticket code. So I guess if we go to the website, it's probably already been used at this point in time, but if we grab it, you can go to of course the golden ticket website. You would enter in your code and the promo code has reached its maximum limit, so everyone's got it. We're not going to be able to use it. But for those of you wondering, you can get the various different rewards from this kind of event that's going on right now. You can see we've got 25k silver. These silver tickets, just another highlight for you guys. We did have a specific promo code for you guys, but unfortunately it's already out and was out within like 50 minutes, I believe, of us uploading the first video with it on. But there you go, there is some additional stuff, and unfortunately we weren't one of the first 1,000 players players to claim it. And so if you're watching this, you won't be either. So then we move on to probably the best vehicle for at least the PC version, which is the Cheeto SP. Now this tank actually gets very good armor for its tier, being able to bounce quite reliably and having quite a large cupola, which is the weak point, but to all intents and purposes, the actual hull armor was very, very good, worked quite well, and is very good if you can get hold down. And with this tank, you actually end up with 7 degrees of gun depression, making it quite easy to use a lot of the ridge lines. It gets 320 alpha with 205 pen, which is very good. And so you're not going to have any struggles when it comes to this tank. The DPM of it, 2086. So it's similar to the tier 6, but, you know, just a tier higher with better penetration and better gun depression. And so, yeah, this tank is going to be quite a fun one. I'm looking forward to trying this one out. It is the one that is very, very broken on a PC. So just take note of that if you want to test this one out. This is definitely going to be a cool one to try. Then we've got the Hory II, which is the tier 8. This one has significantly, I guess, weak armor, to be honest. It really relies on flat armor plates, which with significant penetration from tier 8 and tier 9 and tier 10 vehicles, they're just going to go straight through you, which is a bit of a pain, but you know, that's pretty much every single tank that relies on armor. But at least this one gets a pretty big gun, which is a 12 centimeter with 400 alpha, 250 pen, 285 with premium, and 80 with HE, which is nice. Damage per minute, looking still pretty lackluster for a tier 8 vehicle, but not the worst in the world, 2180. And of course, accuracy wise, 0.35, very accurate for a 400 alpha damage gun. With some of the perks and equipment you'll put on this, you'll definitely get it below 0.3. So be aware of that. Looks very, very cool, but probably not the most competitive of the line. Then we move into the Hory I, which is, the tier 9, playing up to tier 10, 32 kilometers an hour top speed, which is fairly sluggish, but it does get a much better power to weight ratio at this tier, 14, making it, you know, decent. The penetration, very, very solid, 290 pen on its standard, 325 with its premium, 650 alpha. Yeah, think of it almost like a 268v4, but yeah, a tier lower and probably with about the same sort of armor, to be honest with you. If we look at the armor here, you'll see it, very, very solid armor, thick armor, but in certain situations you will find yourself being penned quite easily. Decent view range, you've got 7 degrees of gun depression, which is nice about these tanks. They really do feel quite nice to have that. Yaw limit is 10 degrees either side, which is limited and can be a pain, but it shouldn't be too bad. And then, of course, moving down, we have the Hory III, which is the top tier, the tier 10 in the game. And the tier 10 has 2,000 hit points. It's 35 kilometers an hour. Power to weight even better than the previous, 15, pretty good. Hull traverse and turret traverse, 32 degrees and 28 degrees, which is okay. 7 degrees of gun depression, 15 degrees of elevation, 10 degrees either side for the yaw, so how the kind of range of the tank, since it's a non-turreted tank. 305 pen with 700 alpha, 360 pen with the premium, 700 alpha, and 90 pen with the HE with 900 alpha. Reload of this tank, pretty substantial, 16.4, meaning the DPM is not insane, 2,500 to be precise. And so you're really going to have to try and use the armor and making sure that you kind of chunk away at people as you go through to really make this tank work. And you can see when it comes to the armor, if we click on it here and go to the 3D model, the live view, this is what the armor looks like. So we're currently using 305 pen as the standard kind of penetration that we're looking at when looking at this vehicle. So in order to actually bounce around, you have to have like 200 millimeters of penetration or lower to be able to bounce off the upper plate. You can go straight through the upper frontal superstructure. So you can see this, the red area here. You can go through that very easily with your premium rounds of most tier 10 vehicles. And as soon as you do that with the Hory, you're seeing it just becomes a basic free pen. Even at ridiculous angles, you can pen quite easily. So yeah, I mean, this tank does not have armor really, other than if you're playing against super lower tier vehicles. Things like tier 8s against this thing could potentially bounce some off the upper turret, but even the lower half of this vehicle, this flat frontal plate, 125 millimeters of effective armor, yeah, you're getting penned by almost everything. So be aware of that. It is going to be a problem. And of course, if you try and side scrape, you do get this flat plate here that you can see in the green, this area here, which becomes a problem. So as you side scrape, this will always be green basically. So there's always a place that someone can pen you from the front when you're using the Hory III, which is why you've got to use the alpha damage of 700 to make that not happen and make the tank work. So the Hory III, really looking forward to coming into the game. I'm looking forward to testing out these new tank destroyers and giving them a go and seeing exactly whether or not they're good, whether they're bad, and just generally excited to see how they actually fare within the game. And hopefully you will be as well. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it somewhat informative. If you did, hit the like button and of course join me back on some of the streams and of course all of the videos that we'll be doing in the future. If you have any questions or queries, let me know in the comment section down below and let me know what you think of the new Japanese TD line, and I will see you in the next one. You have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.